Farewell to the Brexit party. I love you guys.
I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye, and we'll look forward in the future to working with you as sovereign.
And I must say that the only thing I'm absolutely sure I will not miss is listening to Mr. Farage.
And from now on, you will have more freedom than we Remainers have. The Brexit will make Britain great again. Good luck, guys.
Spero che un giorno si vergogni e chieda scusa per queste affermazioni. God save the Queen. Grazie.
With grief and regret, I accept that we will leave the European Union on Friday. Oh no, here come the tears.
But what we've proved is the British are too big to bully, thank goodness.
For our young people and future generations, keep the faith that one day we can come back.
Once we've left, we are never coming back.
Brexit is the victory of the common British people against multinational corporations, special interests and other elites.
Last week, the IMF was prognosing that the UK's economy will grow next 2 years after Brexit faster than the Eurozone's economy. So it means that all those Remainers were lying.
I'm hoping this begins the end of this project. It's a bad project.
And although Brexit is partly the result of a huge disinformation campaign, I somehow feel that Britain might not be the last member state to leave the European Union, but the first. If the EU doesn't change its political course, more member states might follow.
Onorevoli colleghi,
for 1.5 minutes, Mr. Schirdewen for the United Left Nordic Green Group.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank the British for their contribution to the European Union over 40 years, for good and for ill. But in particular, I want to thank our Irish friend Martina, who has fought so hard for the people of the north of Ireland. She has made a lasting difference to this Parliament, to the Brexit agreement. GUE NGL will miss her voice. And although Brexit is partly the result of a huge disinformation campaign, I somehow feel that Britain might not be the last member state to leave the European Union, but the first. If the EU doesn't change its political course, more member states might follow. By persisting with austerity and by putting corporate interests ahead of our citizens, governments allow big companies to dominate our lives and our politics. That dominance destroys not only our environment, but our economy, our jobs, our public services, our streets, our local libraries, our railways, our post offices, our schools, our entire social fabric. So don't be surprised the next time we sit here to lament the departure of another member state. Britain may be the first, but it may not be the last. Brexit should be the wake-up call that we must finally put people and planet before profit in Europe. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Mr. Farage for 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. So this is it, the final chapter, the end of the road. A 47-year political experiment that the British, frankly, have never been very happy with. My mother and father signed up to a common market, not to a political union, not to flags, anthems, presidents, and now you even want your own army. For me, it's been 27 years of campaigning and over 20 years here in this Parliament. I'm not particularly happy with the agreement we're being asked to vote on tonight, but Boris has been remarkably bold in the last few months, and Ms von der Leyen, he's made it clear, he's promised us there'll be no level playing field. And on that basis, I wish him every success in the next round of negotiations. I really do. But the most significant point is this. What happens at 11 p.m. this Friday, the 31st of January 2020, marks the point of no return. Once we've left, we are never coming back, and the rest, frankly, is detail. We're going, we will be gone. And that should be the summit of my own political ambitions. I walked in here, as I've said before, you all thought it was terribly funny. You stopped laughing in 2016. But my view has changed of Europe since I joined. In 2005, I saw the constitution that had been drafted by Giscard and others. I saw it rejected by the French in a referendum. I saw it rejected by the Dutch in a referendum. And I saw you in these institutions ignore them, bring it back as a Lisbon Treaty and boast you could ram it through without there being referendums. Well, the Irish did have a vote and did say no and were forced to vote again. You're very good at making people vote again, but what we've proved is the British are too big to bully, thank goodness. So I became an outright opponent of the entire European project. I want Brexit to start a debate across the rest of Europe. What do we want from Europe? If we want trade, friendship, cooperation, reciprocity, we don't need a European Commission. We don't need a European Court. We don't need these institutions and all of this power. And I can promise you, both in UKIP and indeed in the Brexit Party, we love Europe. We just hate the European Union. It's as simple as that. So I'm hoping this begins the end of this project. It's a bad project. It isn't just undemocratic, it's anti-democratic, and it puts in that front row. It gives people power without accountability. People who cannot be held to account by the electorate, and that is an unacceptable structure. Indeed, there's an historic battle going on now across the West, in Europe, America and elsewhere. It is globalism against populism. And you may loathe populism, but I tell you a funny thing, it's becoming very popular. And it has great benefits. No more financial contributions, no more European Court of Justice, no more common fisheries policy, no more being talked down to, no more being bullied, no more Guy Verhofstadt. I mean, what's not to like? I know you're going to miss us. I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye, and we'll look forward in the future to working with you as sovereign.
If you disobey the rules, you get cut off. Could we please remove the flags? Mr. Farage, could we remove the flags, please?
That's it. It's all over. Finished. We've gone.
Could I please ask for quiet? Please sit down, resume your seats, put your flags away, you're leaving, and take them with you if you are leaving now. And goodbye. Can I just say, if I may say, just in a slight reference, the word hate was used in the last contribution. And I really think, given what we listened to prior to this, that we should not hate anyone or any nation or any people. And I now give the floor to Madam Hubner for 1.5 minutes. Quiet, please, at the back of the room.
Thank you, President. And I must say that the only thing I'm absolutely sure I will not miss is listening to Mr. Farage. I speak here as EPP representative in the Brexit steering group, but also as former chair of Constitutional Affairs Committee, who had, over those Brexit years, nearly 500 meetings with all those potentially affected by Brexit.
Dear President, it's a final countdown. Next Friday will be a glorious day for United Kingdom. Brexit is the victory of the common British people against multinational corporations, special interests and other elites. The 2020s is the decade when the national state makes the ultimate comeback in Europe. The supranational, uncountable bureaucracy will be rolled back in favour of real democracy at national level. Britain will triumph outside of the EU. The island nation began a shining movement that cannot be stopped. Farewell to the Brexit party. I love you guys.
Against this withdrawal agreement because it's bad for Britain, it's bad for Europe, and we think it was wrong for Boris Johnson to proceed without putting it back to the British people to a confirmatory referendum. That was like saying to the British public, you had your say 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. Now you have to shut up and accept whatever I come up with, no matter how bad it is, and no matter how different it is from what he promised. 4 years ago, Johnson and his Leave campaign said this would all be easy. It's turned out to be rather difficult. They said it would save lots of money that would all go to the NHS. It's turning out to cost a fortune. They said it would be good for Britain and the economy. The opposite is true. That's why the British public voted 53% in our elections for parties demanding another referendum. Brexit does not have the wholehearted consent of the British people. And that's for very good reasons. It bears no resemblance to what they were promised. Nor will his promise to get Brexit done on the 31st of January turn out to be anything like true. That's the beginning of the next phase, negotiations to settle issues which will prove very difficult. Britain has to make difficult choices. Will it want to stay close to the European Union, aligned with the rules, or distance itself? If it distances itself, it has huge economic costs. If it aligns itself, it has to follow the rules without having a say on them anymore. Neither is actually good for Britain. And that's why public opinion will continue to move against Brexit. That's why I predict that the catchphrase next year in our media and social media will be, Brexit isn't working. That's what people will say. And that's why that, and the fact that it is especially our young people who are strongly against Brexit, that this may indeed not be an adieu. It may just be an au revoir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to say that I did ask colleagues to remove their flags for 1.5 minutes. Mr. Hannan for the European Conservatives and Reformist Group.
How did we get here? Asked Mr. Verhofstadt, opening the debate. There was a referendum in 1975 which went in favour of continued membership. There was no continuity Leave campaign after that. People accepted the result with good grace. They didn't seek to overturn it. Indeed, Euroscepticism was confined to the fringes of the Benite left. What changed, frankly, was the Maastricht Treaty. Up until that moment, it was still possible to see the EU as a club of nations, as an association of states primarily concerned with trade and economics. But after Maastricht, it became clear that EU jurisdiction was being extended into a whole series of completely uneconomic fields, foreign policy, culture, migration, citizens' rights, etc., and that the aspiration was to have the EU as a quasi-state with a flag and a parliament and a currency and a president and external embassies and all the other accoutrements. If at any stage Britain had been able to have a trade-only association, of course that would have been enough. In fact, even as recently as February 2016, if David Cameron had come back with any repatriation of power, can we doubt that he would have won the ensuing referendum? But faced with the departure of its second financial contributor, the EU was still not prepared to allow any devolution of power, and that ultimately is what made a parting of ways inevitable. So I wish you all the best. I want to return to the kind of vision that Churchill set out, where he said, let's have a united Europe with Britain looking on as a friend and sponsor. You are losing a bad tenant, but gaining a good neighbour. Vous allez perdre un mauvais locataire, vous allez gagner un bon voisin.
On Friday at 11 p.m, this Irish MEP will be kicked out of this Parliament against the democratic wishes of the people of Ireland who voted to remain and who want to stay in the EU. After 47 years of membership and after 50 years of fighting against gerrymandering in places like Derry, the British government is once again kicking our voting rights away, taking them away from us, and once again changing the constitutional position of the people of Ireland without our consent. Today, I am voting in favour of this Irish protocol because Sinn Féin will not consent to the hardening of the British border partition in Ireland. We will not consent to custom posts. We will not consent to barbed wire. There is no doubt that the Irish protocol in the withdrawal agreement is an ugly compromise, but it's better than a crash-out Brexit. However, partition and Brexit are ugly impositions that have burdened Ireland for years. Because of partition, Brexit is stripping away our democratic and social rights. But because of Brexit, a dynamic conversation about Irish unity has been invigorated. The EU Council made its contribution to Irish unity when, on the 29th of April 2017, 27 member states agreed that if Ireland is reunified, the whole of Ireland is in the EU. The partition of Ireland is not only a problem for us in Ireland. The 300-mile border with 320 border crossings is now your problem too. When Britain gets its empire back, showing it cares nothing about your level playing field, and when shady, low-standard products with minimum protection make their way into your market, you will not be long in joining the sensible people in supporting Irish unity. There is no doubt that a day will come when Irish MEPs from the north will be back in the European Parliament. Mark my words, Chucky and La Shin.
I'm really sorry, but you've overrun significantly. Madame Delbos Corfield, for 1 minute, you have the floor. Apologies.
It is important to remember that the majority of women and young people of UK voted to stay in the European Union. 75% of the 18-24 years old voted to keep the United Kingdom in the European Union. More specifically, 80% of women between the age of 18 and 24 were against Brexit. And there is a reason to that. European Union protects women's rights to a great extent. Will UK, out of Europe, give the same guarantees? The Scots, the Northern Irish, the Welsh by their citizens' votes, and also these last 2 years by the national parliaments, have continued to express their attachment to the European Union. They now find themselves on the sidelines. The choices of these regional populations are not heard, and this is one of the major problems of Brexit. But there is another concern, a very strong one. Great Britain today is a country with a very deregulated economy and a very unequal society. European directives on workers' rights were the last bulwark for the most vulnerable part, women, minorities and young people. We Greens, regionalists and pirates will pay close attention to the situation of citizens' rights in the aftermath. We are committed to protecting the rights of all Europeans living in Britain and British people living in the rest of Europe.
For me, today is a historic day, but one of profound regret at the departure of the United Kingdom from its place of influence within the European Union. I will vote against the withdrawal agreement today to record the continued opposition of those whom I represent to this insular, isolationist and reckless course of action. But I want to place on record my thanks to Michel Barnier and his team for all they have done to mitigate that recklessness. The people of Northern Ireland rejected Brexit in 2016 and we are certainly not accepting it now. Whilst the UK may withdraw from these institutions, the people of Northern Ireland will never withdraw the hand of friendship, the spirit of cooperation, or the shared determination to secure peace and prosperity for all of our people. As a child of the Northern Ireland conflict, I am grateful to the European Union, which helped shape our peace and which provides a model for pragmatic win-win politics, not based upon division but upon diversity. The decisions you make in this place will continue to shape the lives of the people I represent, and I look forward to forging new ways of ensuring that those close and enduring partnerships built between Northern Ireland and this place flourish. Finally, whilst we will no longer be colleagues in these institutions, I remain your steadfast colleague outside of them, as together we continue to champion the values of cooperation, interdependence and mutual respect which the European Union represents, until one day we rejoin you here. Au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, slán go fóill, goodbye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, colleagues. Can I just say, if I lose my job because I haven't been able to keep to time, will you speak up for me in my defence? Can I move now, and with a certain amount of guilty pleasure, give the floor to Madam and Professor Scott Cato for 1 minute, please.
Thank you so much, President. In spite of the powerful campaign we've waged for 4 years, with grief and regret, I accept that we will leave the European Union on Friday. Oh no, here come the tears. Our future as a country has no clear shape beyond a few slogans, and this means that we have some very important political tasks ahead. As the Brexit losses mount, we must counter the betrayal narrative, where those who promoted the doomed strategy tried to shift the blame for the damage onto the EU and onto those of us who argued against it. We must demonstrate compassion and solidarity with EU citizens living in the UK who feel vulnerable and fearful. And we must revitalise the friendship groups and twinning associations that thrived in the decades before we joined the EU. Now is not the time to campaign to rejoin. But we must keep the dream alive, especially for young people who are overwhelmingly pro-European. I hold in my heart the knowledge that one day I will be back in this chamber celebrating our return to the heart of Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, colleagues. Just a little bit of quiet, please. Mr. Madison, you have 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. What a show tonight, again, for the last time, finally. First of all, I will not cry. I will congratulate for the British guys. The one thing what I would like to mention is that last week the IMF was prognosing that the UK's economy will grow next 2 years after Brexit faster than the Eurozone's economy. So it means that all those Remainers were lying before the Brexit elections what we had. They were lying that the UK will have a crash in the economy. So they were lying. And the second thing, if they are growing faster than the EU is doing, it means that the EU is doing something very wrong. If we are so successful, why we are so slow and that they are so fast? And for the final statement, I really wish great party celebrations for the Friday night. We will celebrate with you. Have a nice drinks.
Thank you. We move to Madam Porritt for 1 minute.
Colleagues, I will today vote against this deal. I do so on behalf of the millions of British people who voted to remain, including my constituents in London. Brexit is a regressive, reckless, right-wing project. The only people celebrating it outside the UK are those who wish to weaken us all. This decision is harmful for young people, our fellow Europeans living in the UK, and the most vulnerable. Over the last 2 days, we have welcomed young Brits to this Parliament. They don't want Brexit. They value common endeavours over isolationism. Brexit is now inevitable, but I don't believe it will be permanent. Young Brits will one day lead the campaign for us to rejoin as committed members invested in our shared European future. A bientôt, chers amis.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I now give the floor for 1 minute to Madam McLeod.
Thank you, Madam President. And as a Scottish MEP, I will be voting against the withdrawal agreement, as the majority of my country has mandated me to do. The people of Scotland have consistently voted against Brexit. Scotland's Parliament has refused to give its consent to this Brexit deal. And the tragedy for Scotland is that on Friday, Scotland will be dragged out of the EU against the democratic wishes of our people. Scotland is a European nation, and I look forward to an independent Scotland rejoining the EU, and we will soon, playing a positive role and promoting Europe's values, international solidarity and cooperation as an equal partner. Now, I'm proud to have been a member of this Parliament of Europe's citizens, and I give you my word that Scotland's government will continue to protect the interests of all EU citizens who have chosen to make Scotland their home and have contributed to our society in so many important ways. And when the moment comes for Scotland to rejoin the EU, I hope this Parliament will welcome us in that same spirit of European solidarity. And in the meantime, I hope very much that you will leave a light on for Scotland.
Thank you. Thank you. 1 minute, Ms. Griffin.
Friends, every day in this House, a member of another delegation says, please stay. We want you to remain. Britain's withdrawal from the European Union is a political tragedy that will damage the economic well-being and social fabric of the UK and diminish our country's standing in the world. We are British and European and part of the most successful social peace project in history. For the clean air we want for our children, to eradicating energy poverty, to workers' rights, that's got to be worth fighting for. I continue to believe that Britain has been and would be best served by being a member of the European Union. For our young people and future generations, keep the faith that one day we can come back. Thank you. Merci. Cursanon. A bientôt. And to you, Mairead Grahamahagat.
Grahamahagat.
Hanno votato 683 deputati, favorevoli 621, contrari 49, astenuti 13. Commovente. Sì. Onorevoli colleghi, colleghe e colleghi, dovremo impegnarci ora tutti per dei diritti dei cittadini e sappiamo che ci saranno anche momenti difficili.
Die Sitzung ist wieder eröffnet. Ich habe nach diesem Als nächster Punkt der Tagesordnung folgen die Erklärung des Rates und der Kommission betreffend den Ausbruch des Coronavirus. Ich möchte Sie daran erinnern, dass Sie spontane Wortmeldungen und Wortmeldungen nach dem Verfahren der blauen Karte sowohl auf die herkömmliche Weise als auch elektronisch beantragen können. Die